Welcome back to TarHeelIllustrated.com. I'm Bryant Balcom. He's publisher Andrew Jones. We are back for another daily drop. As you can see, he is still in the Donald Tucker Center in Tallahassee, Florida. But before we jump into this basketball-related drop, AJ, our readers and viewers have a chance to win free THI. How can they do that?
Well, I actually am home by the time you guys are watching this. I'm not still here. They would have arrested me and dragged me out of here kicking and screaming. I do like this arena, and I wouldn't mind hanging out here a little bit more and go hang out with Chuck Walsh or something like that. But I am home. We're recording this after the three things from Monday night. You guys can get free THI. We want to give it away. We're going to give it away. We're going to randomly choose people to win free THI. New subscribers to our YouTube channel. Doesn't cost anything, so go subscribe right now and click like too while you're at it and comment when this video is over and share your thoughts. And you go over to our Facebook page, Tar Heel Illustrated, go ahead and follow. Go over to Twitter/X at Heel Illustrated, no S in the middle there, and follow us as well. We're going to randomly choose people from all different platforms to win free 1-year subscriptions to THI. We're going to get 2 people from YouTube to win a 2-year subscription each to THI. So we want to get to 40,000 on Twitter/X. We want to get to 20,000 on YouTube. We want to get to 12,000 on Facebook by the end of the basketball season. So get to it. If you've been waiting to do it, get to it now, because the basketball season has anywhere from 2 weeks to however many weeks left. So get on it now. Help us reach these goals. We will give away free THI so you can become a part of our community and get so much more than you ever get on these videos or our free written content.
Absolutely. And we are happy to have you guys. Today's Daily Drop, we're talking about basketball. But AJ, you mentioned to me before we came on here, we're actually going to also talk about hockey a little bit. And we'll see how in just a second. But for those of you who aren't familiar with the Four Nations face-off that happened over the last 2 weeks, Sweden, Finland, Canada, and the USA competed in a small round robin and then championship game kind of tournament style. And the US and Canada played in Montreal. I believe it was the same night UNC beat Syracuse. And before the game, I believe it was the Kachuk brothers, and I'm not going to quote. I don't know who the third person was. Don't quote me on that. But organizers,
they're the ones that got the notoriety for it, though.
Yeah,
they became legendary overnight.
And before the game, they had a group chat, and they orchestrated before anything happens, they're going to drop gloves, set the tempo, and show like that they mean business.
And why?
Just
because
they were.
Yeah, and then they booed the national anthem, which was part of it too, right?
To show that we're not going to allow that to happen. And they're in Canada's home turf. You got to show them a little bit and give them a little bit,
especially
to show you like, you're here. You're not messing around. And you mentioned Hubert tonight after the game, and some of the players you talked about. He showed them that video to remind them what it's like to play for UNC. How many guys before them have come and played for UNC, and many of them, they've got maybe not fist fights on the court, but some guys like Tyler Hansbrough leave looking like they got into a fight, and they're playing for North Carolina. They're playing for something bigger than themselves. And you mentioned that you talked to Hubert and some of the players. And that's exactly what his intent was with that message when he showed it.
It didn't come up with Hubert because we talked to Hubert first, then the players. Had it been reversed, we would have asked Hubert about it. Who knows what he would have said, but Jalen Withers was talking about it, and I had just finished with Cade Tyson, I think it was. No, with Jay Wash. And I went over to Jay Witt, and he was, we got all the Jays tonight, and he was talking about Hubert showing them the video of it. He told them about it, and they threw down the gloves, and the players loved it. They thought it was great. So they watched it a bunch, and they watched a little bit more. And I asked Jay what I said, so have you guys basically dropped the gloves? Like, there's a fight element to what this team keeps talking about now. You hear fighting. You hear politicians say, we're going to fight for the middle class and that kind of thing. Well, sometimes, hopefully they don't mean they're actually going to do that. But in basketball, the fight thing is something that Hubert's talked about a lot. Mm-hmm. He talks about fight, but there have been times where either his messaging doesn't get through, his teams don't fight, but he talks the fight game. And there have been times where it works. It worked with last year's club because he had some natural fighters. Well, showing them that video was just another attempt by Hubert to fortify this. That means so much to him. Old school, whatever. play for the front of the jersey. That's what he did. That's why he swears by the. When you hear Roy talking about the little pinky stuff with he and Hubert, it's the jersey, man. That's this. It means so much. It just doesn't mean this moment. It means so much history. It means such a massive fan base. It means a culture. It's not just a sport. It's a culture they're playing for. So Hubert wanted to show them something that he thought would resonate, and it did, because they could understand that. Mm-hmm. One thing that kids are going to understand, anybody, is the game starts, you throw down gloves and you brawl. And theoretically, that's what he wants his team to do. Well, guess what? They've been starting games well. Mm-hmm. They've been starting games well. They don't look flat early in games. It doesn't take them a while to get knocked down and punched in the face before they theoretically, or I don't know, I said theoretically twice now in like a minute, before they actually punch back and respond, all that kind of junk. They're coming out and they're doing it themselves. They are establishing control of everything. And when the Americans did that in that hockey game, they won that game. Mm-hmm. They established control. They knocked the Canadians on their heels. They did not recover. Well, Carolina wants to do that right now in basketball. Even if when it gets down the road here, when they play teams that are just better, they're still going to want to do that. But the only way you're going to be able to do that with confidence and faith is by doing it now and having it work and having it show up and seeing results. The players loved it. I mean, Jay Witt, honestly, if Jay Witt can skate, I can see him throwing down, man. I mean, he's becoming the screw you guy. I thought, and I know that we talked the other day about his barking at teams and barking at fans and stuff. I thought his Italian chef kiss tonight with his first three was his way of saying, Hubert has told me not to talk to fans and other teams, so I'm doing this. He said it was because of the swish, but I think it was more than that. But he also embraced the glove. That's the kind of thing that gets into the skin of an opposing team too. So it's not
okay, you mentioned just the fight and the punch back. UNC is not going to make every shot it takes. They're not going to play perfect defense on every possession. Yeah. You know, if they could, they'd be the number one team in the country. They'd be undefeated. That's just not how it works. And you can't necessarily control that, but you can control the effort you have, the fight you have. And even if things aren't going your way at the start or whatever it may be, you're going to win some games and you're going to get some extra baskets. You're going to get some extra defensive stops when you consistently bring that fight and show it like, hey, we're playing for the 4 other guys on the court with me and 10 other guys on the bench. It's buying into something bigger than themselves. And I think that's something they have to focus on. Like you said,
100%. To quote RJ Davis, 100%. He says that a lot, as you know.
100% he does.
Yeah, 100% he does. And you're so right, because not only does that, but one of the problems this team has had this year, and they started talking pretty openly about it up through the Clemson game, was that when stuff goes wrong, it spirals because they struggle collecting themselves in those moments, in those sequences, and sequences became longer sequences of bad stuff happening. And that edge wasn't there to stop it. The edge stops that stuff, or at least you attempt to stop it. There are times it looked like they were just rolling over and dying. They did that at Clemson.
Absolutely.
And they recognized that, look, like you just said, if the big guy at Clemson's going to hit a bunch of threes, he's going to hit a bunch of threes. You can't do something. You can't do anything about it at times. If your shot's not going to fall, your shot's not going to fall. It's a skill. Skills are not 100% at all times. That's why great baseball players are successful 30% of the time, because it's the most difficult skill in the world. In basketball, if you have those other things, they can help you. And they can pick up the small elements. If you get a couple of extra runouts because of grit on the defensive end, and you get a loose ball or you get a deflection and that becomes a turnover, you can offset not hitting those shots that night. And you swing the game in your favor. I think that's something these guys are learning right now. We need to see them do it more. We need to see them throw the gloves down every time they take the court. And we need to see it happen more before we can believe that this is who they are. Now, sidebar, I would love to know if Jay Witt, theoretically, third time I've used that now, would have the Hanson brothers tinfoil. That's what I want to know. You know what I'm talking about, the slap shot, the Hanson tinfoil. You're a young guy, but you should know that movie if you like hockey. Will they bring the gloves the rest of the year? And will they throw the gloves down? I think that's sort of a way to judge this team. That's maybe a metaphor moving forward. Hubert's who cares, and the guys throwing the gloves down. So I can ask them, let's say they struggle for a while against Miami, and then boom, they throw the gloves down. I can say to Jay Witt, or I can say to RJ or whoever, Seth, did you guys throw the gloves down at that moment? They're going to know what I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
You can say to them now, you got to throw the gloves down. They're still on. They're still on it, and you're not doing you're not fighting for one another. I think it's a great thing that Hubert did. I think it's a great way to sort of galvanize guys and get them to think in a different way, and using something that's not basketball is brilliant.
Yep.
You can see it. Who doesn't like a good hockey fight? You don't have to like hockey to like a good hockey fight. And especially when it's U.S. versus Canada and guys are doing it for this.
Mm-hmm.
That is people talk about brotherhood and families and sports and stuff like that. I've covered hockey. I've covered the NHL. I've covered a couple hundred hockey games. I covered the Hurricanes for a while. That the term room in sports started in hockey. So if you can kind of gel a little bit of that, fight for my bros.
Yep.
Man, that stuff can carry you. It can, even without resulting in points, it can have the equal effect of points in a game and help you maybe be 6 or 7 points better on a night where you're not very good. Or if you're really good, that 6, 7, 8, 10 points leads to a blowout.
Yep. And with the net, you need all those you can get if you're North Carolina.
Right now, they just need to win. They need to win, look good, play well, feel better, get different production from different guys. And I swear, man, I love this whole metaphor, and I think it can become something who they are. Maybe they can become a bunch of jerks too, right? If anybody who knows what I'm talking about, if you're a hockey fan, you understand. They could maybe come up with a different name. But if they take that mentality into every game the rest of the way, they're going to play in the NCAA tournament, right?
Yep.
If they don't do it, they will not play in the NCAA tournament. Period.
And
it's about hockey now. We have come all the way around our elbow to get to our kneecap, and we're visiting hockey in a college basketball podcast because it's relevant to what this team needs to be infused by. And I think Hubert, who has pushed multiple good buttons here lately, did it again with this.
Yeah, man, absolutely. And just, like I said, never thought we'd be talking hockey on a daily drop or any THI video, but it was necessary. And the 3 guys who got in the fight, it showed the rest of the guys on the bench, like they're willing to do that for them. Like, again, bigger than themselves. And UNC, even if it's one person that starts it, you're showing them like you're willing to drop the gloves. You're willing to get in the mud, as people say, for your teammates, not just for yourself, but for your teammates. And I even think against Miami or Virginia Tech, UNC could theoretically win those games without maybe dropping the gloves. That's not how you want to see them win either. You want to see them win because they drop the gloves.
You don't want to drop the gloves only when you have to.
Yep.
It's got to be who you are.
If you don't do it if you do it when you have to, you can't just do it on command.
No, because then it's not who you are. Then it's just who you cherry picked to be. It has to become who they are. They're not so good that they can just show up and beat people. They need that. So kudos to Hubert for squeezing that in there and getting the kids to connect to it, and kudos to them. We'll see if they do that against Miami. We'll see if they do it against Virginia Tech, and if they do, they're going to bring those giant hockey gloves into the Duke game, and we'll cross that bridge when we get there. That's like a long way away, man.
Next chance to do that against a Miami team, for all intents and purposes, UNC should take care of. But before we go, I want to remind you guys once again, we are giving away free subscription to THI. Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, X, whatever you prefer it to it as. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our videos, leave us a comment. We want to interact. We want feedback from you guys. And we're more than happy to hear what you have to say.
And Facebook too. Follow us on Facebook. Facebook's exploding because of our reels, man. People love the reels that we're putting on Facebook. So Facebook following is exploding right now. So come do all that stuff. Come be a part of who we are and live happily ever after.
Yep, and AJ will have more reels for you on Saturday.
It's 11:54, man.
Yep, and we will see you guys 12 o'clock.
Oh, and I don't have a 7 a.m. flight. Some people gave me crap for flying out too early. I have a noon flight tomorrow, so I feel like I've got all the time in the world to crank out content.
Well, wishing you a safe trip back. We will see everyone on Saturday as UNC takes on Miami in the Smith Center at noon. For now, I'm Bryant, and he's AJ.
Thanks.